Maharani Jaya, Vrinda Devi Jaya, Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Vrinda Devi. Vrinda Devi Jaya, Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Vrinda Devi. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Vrinaya Tulsi Devi, Priyaya Krishna Vishnu Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavacharya Namo Namaha. Vrinaya Tulsi Devi, Priyaya Krishna Vishnu Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavacharya Namo Namaha.
No. I mean, it would be very complicated, because I'm going to be doing songs, and you'd have to find the songs. And I mean, it's possible, but it would be a pain. Depends how much trouble you want to take. Maybe what it comes down to. Yeah, I understand. Mars usually puts this in a different angle. Not just like that, huh? What does he do? Okay. So I don't look as old and ugly as I actually am. Thank you. So if you could get out songbooks. Songbooks. And page 22, I have one. 22. For those of you online, that's Goranga Bolite Habe. Okay. So it's February 1st, 2026 at New Goloka in Hillsborough with our small crew who has braved our small, very local crew. Well, the worst thing is that this snow covers the ice. You can't see where the ice is anymore. Yeah. Today is the appearance day of Narottama Das Thakur. Gauranga bolite habe pulaka sharira hari hari bolite nai yane babe nira. Arakabe nitai chander koruna hoibe samsara basana mora kabe tu chahabe. Vishaya chariya kabe shudhabe mana kabe hamahera boshri vrindavana. Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoy Beyakuti Kabe Hamabuha Bose Yugala Piriti. Rupa Raghunatha Pade Rahu Morasha Partana Karoye Sada Nado Tamodasa. When will that opportune moment come to me when I shiver upon chanting the name of Lord Gauranga? When will I cry while chanting Hare Krishna? When will I receive the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda so that my desires for material enjoyment become insignificant? When will my mind be purified of material anxieties and desires so that I can understand Vrindavana? When shall I be very eager to study the books left by the 6 Goswamis so that I can understand the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna? The lotus feet of the 6 Goswamis are my only shelter. In constant separation from them, I remain Narottam Das. We're going to be doing some more songs, so don't put the songbooks away. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Asutara Satyashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai. Mathura Dhama Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai. Gangamaya Jamuna Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Maharani ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Deshatarane Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Samsajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Vanchakalpaju Vishakri Pisnavya Patijanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevi Namo Namaha. So I want to go to Srila Prabhupada's purport on this song, and we could go through it and talk about it. Prabhupada writes, this song was sung by Narottama Das Thakur, a great devotee and acharya in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, the disciplic succession coming down from Lord Chaitanya. So we know in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj lists the main branches of the Chaitanya tree, and those branches have sub-branches and sub-branches and sub-sub-branches. So my good friend Rukmini, also known as Dr. Ruchira Datta, she's a scientist, and she likes to say how branching is the most efficient means of distribution of resources. Like in our body, the blood vessels are branching, the channels going to and from our lungs are branching in the world. So there's so many branches, and there's so many exalted devotees in these various branches in our sampradaya. Going on with Prabhupada's purport, Narottam Das Thakur had written many songs which are recognized as authoritative by all Vaishnavas. He has sung these songs in simple Bengali language, but the purport, the deep meaning of his songs is very significant. Prabhupada often talks about how we take these songs equally to the hymns of the Vedas, equally to scriptures, that what is spoken by the great saintly persons is equal to that which is spoken by the Lord. Going on, in this song he says, Gauranga bolite habe pulaka sharira. One has attained the perfection of chanting when as soon as he chants the name of Lord Gauranga, who initiated this Sankirtana movement, at once there is shivering in the body. This is not to be imitated, but Narottama Das Thakur is asking, when will that opportune moment come to us when there will be shivering of the body as soon as we chant Lord Gauranga's name? And after the shivering, Hari Hari Bolite Nayana Babe Nira. While chanting Hare Krishna, there will be tears in the eyes. So these are two, shivering and tears are two of the what's called sattvika bhavas. So Srila Rupa Goswami explains, and it's so nice in this song, the last two verses, he talks about taking shelter of Rupa and Raghunath, that Srila Rupa Goswami explains in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that in order to have pleasure, in order to have taste in life, in anything, this science applies also to the material paltry rasas. One has to have 5 components. It has to be there. There has to be, the most essential, the king of them is called the staibhav, or the rati. Rati also means love. So a certain basic relationship, and the 5 most basic relationships are neutrality, just like awe and reverence and worship, and wow, I just want to be with someone, and then wanting to serve, and then wanting to be a friend, seeing someone as a dependent, like a child or a student, and then seeing someone in a romantic relationship as one's spouse or one's beloved. But just having that feeling isn't enough to have pleasure, right? If you just see someone and you think, or you think of someone, you think, I want to be their friend, unless the other aspects of rasa are there, there's not going to be pleasure. So the other aspects are what stimulates that, which is the object of your love, then the other devotees that have similar love to yours, and then various aspects of that. So here we're talking about a stimulus the name of Lord Gauranga, the name Hare Krishna, these are stimulus to love. They're bringing out that love. So I might have a feeling of friendship for someone, but seeing them, hearing their name, being with other people who are also their friends will bring it out. And then that needs to be expressed in some way. So there's two ways of expressing. One is voluntary. I give my friend a hug. I say hello to my friend. And another way is involuntary. I don't plan on it. So this tearing and shivering are involuntary ways of showing one's love for someone. And then the last component are the changing emotions. So if I'm friends with somebody, sometimes we're joking and laughing together. Sometimes we're talking about something serious. Sometimes I may be worried about them. So there's going to be changing emotions. So all these elements have to be there. So when Narottam Das Thakur is asking, when will I be shivering, when will I be crying, he's asking when there's going to be a state manifest of full love. And of course, Lord Chaitanya also asks for this. He says, when will my eyes be decorated of tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? So he's also talking about these sattvika bhavas. And I've mentioned this many times. Why does the devotee want to experience ecstasy? Is this a selfish thing? Krishnadas Kaviraj speaks about this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that in Adi 3, I believe, where he says, why are the devotees asking for ecstatic love? Because that's actually the most pleasing thing we can offer to Krishna. I mean, Krishna says, Patram pushpam palam tvayam yo me bhakta prachati tadaham bhakti paritam ashrami prayatatmana. Give me a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water with love. But, he already has all the water. He is the water, he has the water. When Rukmini is replying to Krishna, who says he was poverty-stricken, Rukmini says, yeah, you don't own anything, okay, because you are everything. So therefore you could say you don't own anything. He already owns all the flowers. He already owns all the food. It's not, it's kind of like if a child takes money, given by the parent and buys a present for the parent. My mother would take me out shopping for my father for his birthday. It's my parents' money and my mother's helping me pick what to buy. But still, it gives some pleasure to the parent, but that's not what ultimately gives pleasure to those we love. What ultimately gives pleasure to those we love, what gives the top pleasure to those we love, is that we feel happiness because of them. The thing that gives us the most joy in life is not so much people giving us things or saying things, but just that our existence brings them happiness. Isn't that correct? And we say this is why people keep dogs. That is, it's as pets. I mean, different from like guard dogs or working dogs. But the main reason people keep dogs as pets is because they love the idea that when they come home, the dog goes crazy over them. And the dog is showing all these symptoms of ecstasy. It is. It's like slobbering on them and jumping on them. And the person feels, I am loved. So Krishna wants this expressions of love. And so Narottama Das Thakur is asking this, not he's like, when am I going to get my own bliss? When am I going to have so much love that I'm going to please Krishna like this just by hearing his name? Just by hearing his name, just by hearing the name of Lord Gauranga, just by hearing the name Hare Krishna, that I will experience so much love. Okay, going on with Prabhupada's purport. Then he says, Are Kabe Nitai Chandra Karuna Hoibi. We are all asking about the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Nityananda is supposed to be the original spiritual master, which is also very significant. Actually, there are several places that Prabhupada says spiritual master is not a particular person. The spiritual master is a principle, it's a truth. It's actually God, it's Lord Nityananda, it's Lord Balaram, who's manifesting through that person. Of course, we respect the individual guru. Why? Because that individual guru is linked with the original guru and has taken on the responsibility to represent the original guru. Just like a police officer, you could say, well, they're an ordinary citizen. Why should I respect them? But they're choosing to put themselves in a position of danger, in a position of difficulty, in order to do the work of the government, and the government works through them. That's the way it's supposed to work. And so you show respect to the police officer as if they are the whole government, or else you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So we respect the guru as good as God. But actually, guru is one. It's not that there's this guru and that guru and the other guru. The guru is manifestation of Lord Nityananda. Going on, so we have to approach Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya, through the mercy of Lord Nityananda. What is the symptom of a person who has achieved the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda? Narottam Das Thakur says that the symptom of one who has actually received the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda is that he has no more material desire. Arakabe Nitai Chandra Koruna Haibe Samsara Basana More Kabatucha Haibe. Samsara Basana means desire for material enjoyment, and Narottama Das wonders when it will become very insignificant. So this is an ultimate test, because people can learn in acting school how to imitate symptoms of joy. Yes? And even Srila Rupa Goswami talks about that what looks like sattva kebabs in the demons is not actual love. You know, when Kamsa is thinking of Krishna and becomes afraid, that's not a sattva kebab, because there's no love for the Lord. So you have to have that actual feeling of loving relationship. But the point is that it can be imitated. There may be material expressions that appear to be spiritual, like with the demons. But the ultimate test is, am I getting free of material desires? That's why Srila Prabhupada says that you don't need a certificate from others to see whether or not you're advancing, that you can test yourself. And he always quotes this verse from the 11th canto, that when you're eating food, you get a feeling of nourishment and pleasure and satiation of hunger. So that one should be feeling, on the positive side, more and more attached to Krishna. More and more attached to Krishna. I remember one leader saying to me some years ago, one leader in our movement, he said, I'm very conscious of Krishna consciousness, but I'm not so conscious of Krishna. And I thought, well, that's a problem. We should actually be becoming more attached to Krishna. We should be becoming more eager. This is called Lalasamayi Partana. Lalasamayi is great eagerness. This is a prayer of eagerness, one of the three categories of prayer that Srila Rupa Goswami talks about. When you're like, I really want to do this service. We feel this way even as sadhakas. Oh, I really want to cook for Krishna. I really want to dress the deities. I really want to study the books. Some feeling of eagerness. And it's not like, oh, no. I was just hearing Prabhupada reading, actually, in Krishna book, where Prabhupada was, this is in the description of autumn, where he was saying how the students get up early, but usually they get up because there's a bell ringing. They don't actually want to get up, right? I'm sure we've experienced that. It's like, oh, I got to get up. My alarm is ringing. Why do I have to get up? So that's not eagerness. Eagerness is, Radha Goloka Nanda there. I want to see them. I want to be in the kirtan. I want to be with the devotees. So on the positive side, some actual eagerness, some enthusiasm. Not necessarily that we're going to feel that every minute of every day, but that should be increasing. And simultaneously, we should see material desires and material sense gratification as boring, as not really anything. I once saw a photograph of a dog that was licking a picture of a plate of food. And material enjoyment is like that. It's not the real thing. It's not the real happiness. Prabhupada talks about how, we're not tasting the real water. Real water is spiritual water. Actually, Jesus said this to the woman at the well also. He says, you come with me and I will give you living water. So that this is the huge difference. And as one starts tasting spiritual enjoyment, one looks at the material enjoyment and goes, it's just not very interesting. You just see there's not any real rasa in that. That's not an aversion. And this should be understood very carefully. This is a very fine point, because there is a ghastly rasa where one says, this former king who says, whenever I think about my sexual indulgences of the past, I spit at it. But it's not aversion, because material aversion is just the other side of material attachment. You're still obsessed with the thing. Hating something is not the opposite of love. The opposite of love is indifference. And what the devotees are feeling ghastliness about, first of all, that's part of love. It's ecstatic, it's joyful, it's loving. And what they're feeling disgusted at is their desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. It's not that these devotees talking, Yamunacharya, it's not that he's disgusted by the biological reproduction process. It's not like that. Then you'd be disgusted by digestion as well. That's not what's going on. What he's disgusted at is lust, is exploitation, is a sense that I'm going to enjoy separately from Krishna. And he's disgusted at that because he loves Krishna so much. And you can think of that, again, materially. In all of our relationships, unless you're very unusual, we have sometimes offended or hurt or displeased someone we love, correct? Yes? Happens. I don't know how you can have a relationship with anyone in this world and never get them upset about something. And if we love them, we feel disgusted at what we did to make them upset. We feel a sense of disgust at that. Oh, how could I have done that? Why did I say that? Why did I do that? And that disgust is part of our love for them. I love you so much. This is not the way that I want to talk to you. This is not the way. I find that way of dealing with you disgusting. So that's what he's talking about, that you look at the material desires and you see, well, this is an impediment to my love for Krishna. It's an offense to you. It hurts you. Like we were the other day with Lord Varaha, it said that Varaha was pained by the abusive words of the demon, but he tolerated them to put the earth to safety. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that the Lord has feelings. So this idea of no material desires, as Prabhupada says, we see the naked form of our material desires. We see them as exploitive and selfish and as a hindrance to the kind of love that we really want. So Narottam Das Thakur is saying, when is this going to happen to me? When is this going to happen to me totally? As we advance in bhakti, many things we find are very easy to feel that way about, and other things are more difficult. Other things we think, well, that's actually spiritual, or it's actually nice. So he's asking, when will I see this? By the mercy of Lord Nityananda, which is coming through Guru. By the instructions of our spiritual master, by the instructions of everyone in the parampara, we start to understand, and by following their instructions and this process, we start to understand what is the real nature. Okay, going on. Of course, as long as we have bodies, we have to accept so many material things, but not in the spirit of enjoyment, but only to keep body and soul together. In other words, we're not going to say, well, I've disgust in material things, so I'm not going to bathe and I'm not going to eat. Narottam Das says further, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoive Oikuti. When shall I be very eager to study the books left by the 6 Goswamis? Akuti means eagerness, because Rupa Goswami is the father of devotional service. He has written a book called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in which there are nice directions on devotional service. These topics are also dealt with in Chaitanya Charitamrita and other books, and we have given the summary of those directions in our book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. One has to learn of the conjugal loving affairs of Radha Krishna through the teachings of these 6 Goswamis. Narottam Das Thakur directs us not to try to understand the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna by our own endeavor. We should try to understand this Yugalapriti, conjugal love, under the direction of the Goswamis. So this is an extremely important point, which it really can't be emphasized enough. Srila Rupa Goswami says that anything that appears to be devotional service, if it's not in accord with the scriptures, it's just a disturbance. It just disturbs everybody. And so we really do need to study. Srila Prabhupada would often say, I've written these books not just to sell them, but for you to study them. So, of course, when Prabhupada wrote this, there was Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and then Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita, especially in Srila Prabhupada's translations and purports of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to Srila Sanatana Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, contain a lot of the same material that's in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And then nectar devotion, and now I'm working with so many devotees to try to make nectar devotion more accessible. And referring to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I was just hearing a class where Prabhupada said, in order to understand what's happening in the Bhagavatam, we have to understand Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Rupa Raghunath wrote so many books about Leela and about Rasa. I mean, so did Srila Jiva Goswami, but Srila Jiva Goswami much more focused on philosophy. And we find also in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Krishnadas Kaviraj is also at the end of every chapter offering obeisances to Rupa and Raghunath. And it's something that I arranged by the mercy of the devotees, a translation of Srila Raghunath Goswami's book, Srimana Shiksha, and now we're working on Srila Rupa Goswami's book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And how these books of, especially Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, that they really give us access to the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which then gives us access to the pastimes of Vrindavan. I told the story a few times. Once when I was visiting my mother, she had me stay in the apartment of a friend of hers in the same building. At that point, she was suffering, my mother was suffering from Parkinson's. She had a fully live-in assistant, and so there was no place to stay in my mother's apartment. Anyway, when I stayed in this apartment, nobody was there, and the person who lived there had two sons who were both scholars, and one of them had written a book about Krishna. So I'm staying in this apartment, and I see on the coffee table this book about Krishna. And I thought, wow, that's cool. So I start going through that book, and it was terrible. This scholar just completely misunderstood Krishna's Leelas and was describing them, I have to frankly say, in a way that was offensive and disrespectful. My policy as a Gurukul teacher was I'd rather the kids read a book by a non-devotee that had moral principles in it rather than a book about Krishna that was distorted. So that's why I never let them read like Amar Chitra Katha, because I said, this is distorted. They're presenting in a distorted way. So we should be extremely careful. I know sometimes in our movement, devotees will just repeat stories they hear in Vrindavan from whoever, and I'm like, it's become much more common. So to always ask, what is the source, and to understand through Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and Srila Prabhupada's written his books in such a way that misunderstanding these things, I wouldn't say is impossible, but it's practically impossible. It's very difficult to misunderstand Krishna's Leelas if you're hearing from Srila Prabhupada. And this is why Srila Prabhupada let us give his books to just non-devotees. We were giving his books in the parking lots of malls and airports and bus stations and just out on the street to anybody. Chaitanya Charitamrita, we were giving Chaitanya Charitamrita Ancha Leela Volume 5. Which, we were giving nectar devotion to everybody. We were giving Krishna book to everybody. And then there's not going to be a misunderstanding. Then even if you haven't read the first 9 cantos of the Bhagavatam, even if you haven't already read the Bhagavad Gita, even if you're not even following the regulative principles yet, reading those books will get you to follow the principles. That's what will happen. You'll read Krishna book, you'll read Nectar Devotion, you'll read teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and then you'll start experiencing these things Narottama Das Thakur is talking about. You'll start experiencing an attachment. You'll start experiencing a detachment from material life. One of my good friends in Slovakia told me that when she first read Prabhupada's books and she read the Hare Krishna mantra, she started crying. She said, why am I crying? So this is what happens when we go through the proper channels. Okay, going on. As long as the mind is too much absorbed in materialistic thought, one cannot enter into the kingdom of Vrindavan. But Narottama Das Thakur says, Vinaya Charya Kabe Sudha Habe Man. Kabe Haba Haribo Shri Vrindavan. When the mind is completely purified, being free from material anxieties and desires. Sochati Kanchati. What do I want to have and what do I want to get rid of? Then I shall be able to understand Vrindavan and the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, and then my spiritual life will be successful. Of course, this isn't just on-off. It isn't like I'm completely materialistic or I'm completely spiritual. Prabhupada is gradual and proportional, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Madhurya Kadambini talks about as we increase our attachment for Krishna, proportionally our material absorption decreases. But we should also intentionally do this as a sadhana. If we're going to be absorbed in materialistic things, it will be very, very difficult for us to focus our mind on Krishna. And you see devotees do this. They become completely absorbed in some political situation or some philosophical situation that's not really Krishna. You know, they've convinced themselves that it's Krishna because it's somehow related to Krishna. But it's not actually. It's actually all about ego, or it's all about something else. And I was in a meeting decades ago, and one devotee said, you know, we have to be careful we don't get so absorbed in these things we forget about the little blue boy. So I did plan to do at least one more song. But I want to just speak very, very briefly about Narottama Das Thakur. I'll speak about him more this afternoon. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, before the appearance of Narottama Das Thakur, was starting to call out Narottam, Narottam. And he said there's going to be a great personality coming to spread my message. And Mahaprabhu actually gave the Padma River his prema, and the Padma River overflowed its banks. And Mahaprabhu said to the personified river, when another personality comes and overfloods your banks like this, then you give them my prema, and that will be Narottam Das Thakur. He appeared in a royal family, but he had no interest in running the kingdom, and his cousin ended up becoming the king, which is very significant later on. Narottama Das studied in Vrindavan under the 6 Goswamis, and he became the disciple of Lokanath Das Thakur, the only disciple of Lokanath Das Thakur, who didn't want to accept any disciples, even though Lord Chaitanya ordered him to do so and ordered him to accept Narottama Das Thakur as a disciple. But Narottama Das Thakur, in order to prove his sincerity, would clean his gurus, the area where his guru would evacuate. And again, we'll talk about this more this afternoon. Narottama Das Thakur was very influential. He was the main, I'd say, influential person in establishing the first Gaur Purnima festival in Kechari Gram, which was very important for bringing together the diverse followers of Lord Chaitanya and establishing the Siddhanta of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Also, a couple of his disciples were the ones who took Gaudiya Vaishnavism to Manipur, which is also very important. Srila Prabhupada said that Manipur could be the first Krishna-conscious kingdom. And when you go there, used to be even the political leaders were all Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And so a lot of the history of that state of India over the last few hundred years is woven together with Gaudiya Vaishnavism, which is just wonderful. I saw a drama there. The one time I visited there, I saw a drama there of the history of some of the kings, and it was completely interwoven with Gauranga Mahaprabhu. It was just completely ecstatic. Yes. So in Manipur, you had the whole kingdom, and the main form of Vaishnavism in Manipur is Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Whereas you have, Lord Chaitanya spread his movement in South India, but you still have it's primarily Sri Vaishnavas rather than Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So it's just a little interesting. Manipur is a fascinating place to visit, by the way, if you ever get an opportunity to visit there. Also, I'd recommend to all of you, my god sister Sitala. She published a book of the life of Narottama Das Thakur, and it is well worth reading. All right, I want to go to page 66. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Kora More Tomar Bina Ke Doyalu Jagat samsare. Patita pavana hetu tavavatara mosama patita prabhu napai beara. Ha ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Kripa Balokana Koro Ami Baro Dukhi. Doya Koro Sita Pati Advaita Gosai Tava Kripa Bale Pai Chaitanya Nitai. Ha ha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Bhatta Yuga Sri Jiva Prabhu Lokanatha. Doya Koro Sri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Ramachandra Sangamaje Narottama Dasa. I hope we have time to read the translation. My dear Lord, everyone together, please be merciful unto me, because who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these three worlds? Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls, but I assure you that you will not find a more fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first. My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, I may also become happy. My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be kind to me. If you are kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda will also be kind to me. I pray for the mercy of Swarup Damodar, the six Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Bhatta Raghunatha Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami and Lokanath Prabhu. I, Narottama Das, pray to the merciful Srinivas Acharya, and I always desire the company of Ramachandra. Ramachandra was the name of his best friend. So, Prabhupada often talks about how, in this song, how the devotees also feel loving association with their friends and separation with their friends. So, there's so many nice songs of Narottama Das Thakur. There's, Hari Haraya Namakrishna, Vrindavan, Ramyastana. some other ones. Also, there, Nitai Padakamala, of course, we'll be doing a meditation on Nitai Padakamala, Krishna willing, this afternoon. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Narottama Das Thakur ki jai. Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. That's Jagannath Das Babaji.
Okay, yeah.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Enam Kanvantam Aravindanalayataptam Bharavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Andani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Page 30. Hari Hari Vipale Janamago Nainu. Hari Hari Vipale Janamago Nainu. Manusha Janama Paya Radha Krishna Nabajiya Shajanama Paya Radha Krishna Nabajiya Janiya Shuniya Bisha Koinu Janiya Shuniya Bisha Koinu Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana Ratina Janbilokeni Jaya Ratina Janbilokeni Jaya Samsara Vishanale Divanishi Hiyajvale Samsara Vishanale Divanishi Hiyajvale Judai Jena Koinu Upaya Jena Koinu Upaya Brajendra Nandanaye Sachisuta Hoilo Se Rajendra Nandanaye Sachisuta Hoilo Se Balarama Hoilo Nitai Balarama Hoilo Nitai Balarama Hoilo Nitai Balarama Hoilo Nitai Dina hina yata chila harinama udarilo Dina hina yata chila harinama udarilo Tada Shakshi Jagai Madai Tada Shakshi Jagai Madai Aha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vrishabhanu Sutta Yuta Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vrishabhanu Sutta Yuta Karuna Goro Ebaro Narotama Ebaro Narottama Dasakaya Natali Horandabaya Narottama Dasakaya Natali Horandabaya Toma Vineke Ache Amara Toma Vineke Ache Hari Hari Vipale Janama Gonainu Hari Hari Vipale Janama Gonainu Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Shri Radhe Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Shri Radhe Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Shri Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Shri Vrindavan Dham Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Shri Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Vaishnava Thakur Jaya Vaishnava Thakur Jaya Vaishnava Thakur Jaya Vaishnava Thakur Vaishnava Thakur Jaya Vaishnava Thakur Jaya Vaishnava Jaya 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 Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhu Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Oh, Lord Hari, I have wasted my life. Although I have taken this rare human birth, I have not served Radha and Krishna, and thus I have knowingly drunk poison. The treasure of divine love in Goloka Vrindavan had descended as the congregational chanting of the Lord's holy names. Why did my attraction for that chanting never come about? Day and night my heart burns in the fire of the poison of worldliness, and I have not accepted the means for relieving it. Lord Krishna, the son of the king of Braja, became the son of Sachi, and Balaram became Nitai. The holy name delivered all those souls who were lowly and wretched. The two sinners, Jagai and Madhai, are evidence of this. O Lord Krishna, son of Nanda, accompanied by the daughter of Rishabhanu, please be merciful to me now. Narottama Das says, O Lord, please do not push me away from your reddish lotus feet, for who is my beloved except for you? Narottama Das Thakur Mahashai Ki Jai. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Sreya Kairava Chandrika Vitadanam Vidya Vajujivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnam Diswadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Badam Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nita Sarva Shaktis Tatra Nitami Amitas Manane Nakala Eta Dusita Vakriban Bhagavan Mamapi Durda chakshusha pravishayitam. Yes, yeah, through the pain.
Victory, the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction, humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Sri Shikshashtakam ki.
We just need to get some plates.
Yeah, some plates and bowls. This evening, Her Grace, Mother Urmila Devi Dasi, will be giving a Zoom class at 5 o'clock. Please tune in. We're pretty snowed in here. She'll give it from her room. Yeah. She'll not be in the temple room. She'll actually use her laptop because it's equipped with sound and whatever. She has a whole slideshow on Lord Nityananda and Narottama Das Thakur. So please tune in for that at 5 o'clock, and stay safe. Probably most everybody is snowed in this morning. Please take all precautions when maneuvering around. And we're definitely still snowed in with a thick layer of ice and now quite a few inches of snow. So